Hello, everyone, and welcome to Two Goals. I'm Maria Laura,
And I'm Katia.
and today we're ready to give the microphone to a one-of-a-kind voice of Colombia's football generation. Journalist, goalkeeper, former volleyballer, women's rights advocate, and a leader, Vanessa Córdoba has accepted our invitation to discuss her past, her present, and the future of women's football in Colombia. Vanessa, thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Maria Laura, Katia, thank you for giving me this opportunity and for helping raise female soccer players' voices all around the world. Like you were saying, off the record, not only in South America or North America, but worldwide.
Vanessa, welcome. And to start this episode, we're going back to the beginning of your life. You used to train to be a professional beach volleyball player, and nowadays you still play with a ball, but a different one. So here you are, a recognized female leader in the women's football landscape. Can you please tell us in your own words, where did your journey with football start?
I like to say that soccer or football was so close to me that I wasn't able to see it. I was born in a soccer player's home. My father was a goalkeeper, but I never saw football as something of my property. It was something just my father's job. My first sport actually was horseback riding, jumping. I loved it. Then I moved into volleyball, and then I got to beach volleyball. That was my actual passion. However, I had three knee injuries, which made me kind of like rethink a little bit my future and thinking about my health, especially when in sports, our health is so it's such an important variable. So I decided to change sport since the sand it makes it even more unstable for the knee, which was kind of like the main issue I had. And I was trying to look for a new thing to do in sports. I mean, I always knew I wanted to be a professional athlete. I just didn't know in which sport. And then here came football. As I said, it was so close I didn't see it, but at the age of 16, I kind of got the opportunity to do it. And I was looking for a big challenge. And I think that's what I found in football. And I mean, I did imagine it like a bit difficult, especially because of my family's background. My father, like, as he said, he used to be a goalkeeper as well. But it turned out being more difficult than what I thought. But it's been an amazing journey. I've tried to enjoy every step of the way. It has taught me a lot about myself, but also a lot about the way society works. And I think that's what keeps me going, keeps my dreams alive.
So now that you mentioned your father, I mean, and for those who doesn't know your father, so your father is Oscar Córdoba, and he was named as the second best goalkeeper of the world once, and several times one of the top players for America. So do you think that, I mean, from your perspective, how has it been for you to have this figure in your family? What kind of impact has this had in your life, in your career as a footballer and as a leader? Do you think that this has been positive for you to be the daughter of a big name in football?
I think it depends on the way you see it, but overall, it's an amazing surname to have. It's only about good things. However, there is a special kind of like pressure behind it, and especially in sports where you have to face so many moments at such a young age, it can be a little bit tricky. However, I do think it has helped build my character, build my ideals, because I think one of the hardest things that I've faced growing up has been having to question a lot of things we're taught, and a lot of those things are things I've learned from my parents, for both of them. And all of a sudden being out there in the field or in society, raising your voice where everyone is questioning you, I think it's been great. I think it built my base as a person in order to be able to face all these struggles we all in women in sports space. So I think in a way it has been tricky. I can't lie with that, but I've learned how to deal with the pressure. I think having or feeling pressure is a privilege, and it's a privilege that people believe in you before even meeting you.
Right.
So I prefer to see it that way, and it has been very encouraging, and my family has always been very supportive. So for sure, having them as my family has given me also the confidence to be able to dare to be myself 100%.
Amazing answer, because it's tricky, as you said. It's really tricky. I don't know that feeling, but I bet that is tricky. And now we're going to your university years. You went to the US to study a bachelor in communications, and there you played both for New York Institute of Technology and Ohio University. And regarding to that, we would like to ask you, do you think there are opportunities available for Colombian female footballers to develop their sportive paths abroad? And overall, how important is it for an athlete to get the chance of accessing international experiences?
Well, yes, I do think there's a huge opportunity to play abroad, especially when we see it as a education opportunity, which is something I like to do big emphasis in, because it's one of those things we have to change in our educational system and athletic system here in Colombia. Usually we're taught that you have to choose between sports or academics, and we kind of shield ourselves behind this idea. And I say it because I did it. I wasn't a great student in school. And I used to say, well, I don't like academics, I just want to play sports.
Right.
And it was not until I got to college that I saw the actual value of it. And it was something my family also tried to teach me at a young age. An athlete is just way more than just an athlete, because it takes a lot to be a professional athlete. And a lot of these things, you don't necessarily get them by knowing how to multiply or divide or write an essay, but the exercise that takes mentally to be able to do that math problem, or to be able to write an essay or compare two essays, teaches you a different way to see and play your sport. And again, I didn't realize this until I was in the States in college, and until now that I play professional, you can really see a big difference between athletes who have had an academic degree or process and those who haven't. I'm not saying one is better than another one, but I do think there's a big difference between them. So I do think there's a great opportunity for Colombian athletes, not just footballers, to go abroad. But I would love to not make that the only option. I really wish, and it's something I will try to advocate now and on. Here in Colombia, is trying to change the academic system and way to think that athletes are not useful in the academic side, and that they don't need it. And I think it's completely the opposite. Otherwise, we wouldn't have so many examples of professional athletes, and in our case, professional football players who, once they retire, they don't know what to do with their lives. So I think we have to think in a long run as well as athletes, and take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's kind of paradoxical what you're mentioning, because we have had the chance to talk to great professionals in this podcast, and we are aware that women, they tend to prepare themselves a lot more. Of course, it is related to the fact that they can live from footballing,
Yeah.
from becoming professional athletes, as you mentioned. But at the same time, at least they are aware of this, that the lifespan of an athlete is really short. I mean, it's not only footballers, it's just, I don't know, whoever who dedicates their lives, but especially footballers, they can only play until they are like middle 30s or 40s. Maybe goalkeepers, they have a longer career. But at the end of the day, if they are not aware of the simple things about how to manage their money, or how to try and maybe find another passion outside. They still have like a long way to go after playing football. So what do you think? I mean, you think maybe this is kind of like a best practice from women's football to men's football, maybe?
Yes, I think that that's going to be one of the biggest difference, and you can see it in every aspect. You know, it's starting from our type of game to how socially conscious we are. If you watch When you watch the Women's World Cup, it's a very diverse public, you know, and diversity is embraced and it's encouraged, and you can see it like written everywhere, and you can see it on the field with the players. Whereas if you see the Men's World Cup, you see the great example of toxic masculinities and the patriarchy, and it's full of testosterone, which in a way it can be good and it's worked for them for a while. But you know, society evolves, the world evolves, and so does football. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes men's football has made, is that they have not evolved socially. And the awareness female athletes have worldwide is just amazing. And I think this is because they are kind of forced, you know, because we are a cause ourselves. And that makes you kind of think of other causes, but we are more aware. And I think that's where you see the big differences between men and female, and the empathy we can have and the compassion we have. And again, you can see it everywhere, from the public to the athletes themselves and the teams.
Yeah, and you mentioned diversity, and of course, women's football is one of the major things in women's football is diversity. You can see it, as you said, last World Cup, and if you go to a game, you can see it on the pitch and outside of it, the way they embrace. And you also said one thing that is very, very important is we have the opportunity in the women's game to not commit the same mistakes as the men's. Now we have the opportunity to do that. So as we are doing this pathway, we need to stick to it and try to evolve the better way and look to the other side, not comparing, but look to the other side and see which mistakes they committed. And now we have a voice and an opportunity to not commit the same mistakes. But now we're going back to you, still regarding you as a football player. Now we're going to talk about dreams. You have accomplished one of the biggest dreams for a professional footballer, for sure, which is playing for your national team. You have in the curriculum the South American under-20s, the Bolivarian Games, World Cup qualifiers. What kind of memories do you recall from these caps? And do you think these regional tournaments shaped the way you think and work for women's football now?
Well, I think one of the main or most common memory is being scared as before playing. I mean, it has been a great challenge for me, the national team. I haven't been able to get the minutes I've desired, but it's part of the process, especially understanding and accepting that my process started a bit late because of volleyball. So I've tried to make peace with it. I wasn't in Juegos Panamericanos, Panam Games, where we won the gold medal. That was a hard
A milestone, yeah, for last year.
Yeah, it was great for the team and for women's soccer in Colombia, everyone, like, honestly. But for me, besides what I knew it meant for us, it was hard, you know. Only 3 players that we had been with the national team the entire process didn't go to that tournament. They decided to take other players. So that was a hard hit to take. But again, these things happen in football and they only shape your personality. So I'm sure if I were to go back to the national team right now, things would be very different. But there are other factors that may not allow me to go back for now, I think. Not only because it depends on what the coach is looking for, but also because of the role I've taken here in Colombia towards what's been going on with our reality. So, raising your voice sometimes brings its secondary effects. But anyways, besides that, I think, yes, being able to play here in Latin America has allowed me to shape the way I see the game. Not only on the field, because we do have a different style, it's more jogo bonito. It's very for folkloric, if you can say it that way, when you compare it to other playing styles. But because of what football means to society, especially here in Latin America, societies evolve around this sport. The World Cup stops the country, like the country's economy stops when the World Cup's going on. It's incredible and it's crazy. But then being able to see the other side, like I did in the US, where football is just, whatever. The American football is the big, strong sport over there, has allowed me to have those contrasts. And then being able to play in Spain, where they also have a different way to see it, has certainly made me wake up a little bit and try to, expect more from our industry here in South America.
And after all this experience in 2017, the professional, we will get to that word, but the football league in Colombia, the Women's Football League, was finally launched officially. And there you have played for Santa Fe and La Equidad Seguros. So from your perspective, how huge was this step at that time? And how has the perception of women's football changed from then until today?
No, it was a huge step, especially when you think about it, as in being really honest with the history of women's football here in Colombia. A lot of people think that women's football started when the famous Superpoderosas began.
Mm-hmm.
And no, we had our first national women's team in 1998. And from then back, even there's even more story to it. And I think maybe we're not even that aware of how long women's soccer has been going on in our country. But as of what I know, it started towards the 1990s. And it took a lot of years to be able to say, we have a professional league. So for sure, that was a huge step. The final, we got 36,000 people in the stadium. It was the most assisted game in that league between men and women. It was the one with most public. So it did mean a lot. However, I think we did make a mistake of starting with something huge, and it was not sustainable. And that's why we had this after effect, where last year they wanted to end the professional league. And I think a big example of this issue has been the National Women's Soccer League in the States, where they've had several tries of making the professional league. And honestly, even now, the National Women's Soccer League is not 100% professional. I don't think there's 100% professional league in the world. And that was kind of the idea here in Colombia, which I really thank, because it did give us a huge push. But It was something we did talk as players, and our fear was that it was not going to be sustainable, and we were going to have this effect, which we actually do have. So in other words, I think, yes, it was a great step. People have changed their perspective. At least they know several players' names. However, unfortunately, I do think also people tend to relate women's soccer here in Colombia with negative things, because lately we've been going out, raising our voice and saying, listen, things are wrong, things are not working properly, and they're not working as they should. And they automatically make this as a scandal and another problem in women's soccer. And I think that might hurt us a little bit, but I do think overall people are a bit more empathetic with us.
You know what, this is this is just like a big issue for me, because I have always loved football, and in my case, I didn't play professionally, but I used to play a lot with my friends, and I was always I not supported in a sense that I didn't need support, because in my house, which is the thing that we should try and and aim to, it was normal. I mean, we don't need support. We just need to have the liberty to do
Mhm.
whatever we want. It's kind of like make the decisions that we want to make, because
Mhm.
no one asked a male footballer like, okay, so you are not able to play. Like if he says he wants to, it's like completely natural. So tell me, Vanessa, since this is kind of like for every woman, because this is not only about football, it's about women's equality. Why raising your voice? I mean, because it is hard. You mentioned this can get some repercussions to your athlete path, and this can also be something like really passionate for a human being. So tell us a bit about, was there any specific moment where you decide it was time to work towards tackling inequality in football and in general to try and take the lead for sports in Colombia?
I think that moment was last year when we did do the press conference, exposing our like our issues towards the our profession. In other words, that was last year, 2 days after Women's Day. I remember it as if it was yesterday. And I remember we were like what 15 players in that press conference, and it was worse that the debut with the national team. We were so scared, I remember, but we just looked at each other and we said, it's now or it's going to take a long time to have another generation of players like us. So I kind of made peace with the idea of what it may cost. And I have two reasons why I did make the decision. And the first one, and it's one, it took me, I think, 6 years since I started playing soccer until last year, or yeah, 6, 7 years, to admit soccer is not my passion. I think there's so many things out there in the world we can do and we can help to change or build or create. That I think it's a lack of respect towards life, thinking that the only thing that makes sense in it is football. So when I made peace with that, because it's a very unusual way to see football, especially when you're a footballer. Usually everyone's like, no, football is my passion. I can't live without football. My life without football is nothing. I think the opposite. I think my life without football is amazing. There's a bunch of things I want to do that had to postpone, because of sports. So being honest with myself with that and being public with it, I mean, I think it took a huge weight out of my back and it made things more clear. Even though it is not my passion, it doesn't mean I don't want to do it. I do still want to keep playing. And in the moment, I said I trust my skills. I know maybe if I can't play here in Colombia, I can play somewhere else. So that gave me a little bit of more confidence. And then the other thing was education. I had my degree. I was already in the media, and I had made my little steps in that. So I said, I mean, worst case scenario, I'm not like, if everything goes completely wrong, I still have something else to do. So I think that gave me even more confidence. And the third one, which I was going to forget, is, at the end of the day, you have to be very honest also with the privileges you have, and I'm very lucky to be in a family where I know I've got their support 100%, whether I play or not. And no one in my family depends on me, not even my dog. Luckily, I don't think I'm ready to take that responsibility. But, I don't have people depending on me. So I'm more free of taking big risks. And I found myself in the situation. I felt really good afterwards, and I learned that you can say anything you want as long as you know how to say it. Education, being educated or being respectful doesn't always mean being quiet. A lot of times means raising your voice, but learn how to raise it. You can say anything really. You can say you can tell someone you love them without telling them you love them. You know, you can find another way to do it. And I think that's kind of the game I've been playing with football. I've been trying to be as calm as possible, but I think I've had that confidence to say, you know, I'm just gonna take a chance, and if it goes wrong, well, I'm sure I'm gonna find a way to keep going.
So actually, you mentioned last year, and for those who are not aware about what happened in Colombia last year, we had everything. We had presidents talking badly about footballers. We had this meeting from you where you were already like, I think the word demanding is a word that has gained negative connotation, but actually demand is just asking for what you deserve, like normal rights for in your case
Exactly.
for sportive professionals. But maybe can you tell us a bit about maybe the highlights of last year, maybe something really special from what you did last year, and what kind of role did you take in this movement that started? And it was such an important movement that actually I know I met a lot of people in Europe who were aware of these things happening in women's football in Colombia.
Well, you know, it all began with Isabela and Melissa Ortiz, Isabela Echeverri and Melissa Ortiz. They had the idea of making everything public since the year before. And I remember telling them, like, no, girls, you know, there's another way to do it. Because that's kind of the way we're taught, you know, like, oh, don't make problems, you know, try to solve it another way. And I tried to encourage them not to do it, you know, but at the end, luckily, they didn't listen to me. In public. And that's where everything kind of exploded. And then back then they were both living in the US. Now only Meli lives there and Isa lives in Sevilla. But they came with Accord Futuro, which is the footballers association. They brought them, and that's when this whole press occurred. And I remember the day before, my parents telling me, like, no, Vane, don't go. Oh, you know, this is gonna have, you know, it can bring you big issues in the national team. You're very young, you still have a lot to go. And at the end, I was saying, you know, I think one of the signs that you can feel and show sometimes that you've been educated properly is when you question what your parents tell you. I mean, it sounds a bit rebellious, I know. But, you know, I think what I most take from education is being able to question, and not question with the idea of making someone less important or being disrespectful, but question in order to truly understand and to truly see if you agree or if you don't. And if you don't, it's okay. It's not being disrespectful also. So I remember that night, I barely slept, and I said, well, I might be ending my career right now. And I'm not even halfway what I want to do. But again, I said, I'm not going to keep lying to myself. I have a lot of other things I can do. So let's just go with it. And that's how, like, everything kind of went on. Then Isabel and Melissa left. Gaitan, which is the national team's captain, also went back to her team back then. And the only one left was me here in Colombia. And I've always been very vocal. I remember a couple of years ago, I did also like a kind of public critique towards Adidas kind of action when they launched the latest like shirt of the or jersey of the national team. Mm-hmm. They launched the female version with I mean, she's beautiful, I have to admit. But back then she was the
Miss Universe, yeah?
Right? Yeah, Miss Universe, yes. I mean, she's gorgeous, and I have nothing against her. I'm a huge fan of her. But we're talking about football. Like, I'm not gonna wear her crown. I'm no one to wear her crown. Like, you know, they're two different things. So I've always been very vocal about it. So things just kept going. I was the only one, like I said, left in Colombia. So I kept attending to different meetings with the government because our vice president also expressed her support and she wanted to help. So I was the one that kept going to those meetings, and that's kind of things kept going. And then being in that process, I found, or I got closer to football as a social tool, the not professional side, but more the amateur back in different um, places of Colombia. And I got to travel a little bit to do, in a way, social work through soccer. And that inspired me tons. I think it has inspired me more than even watching the World Cup, because I figured out that football has kept alive a lot of places in Colombia that have been ignored and that have been forgotten because of different reasons, because of violence, because of inequality, tons of reasons. But the thing they have in common, and the thing that keeps giving people reasons to wake up the next day and smile, is football. And when I saw that and I got to experience it firsthand, I said, this thing is huge. I'm not gonna let go of this. It's way too big, too important, too powerful to not do anything about it. And that's kind of what happened between last year and now. And it's been like, it's been a great experience. I got to talk about all of this with the IBD for their 70 years back in the States, in Washington, D.C. I also got to talk in the Women Economic Forum, the first one here in Latin America, kind of all about women in sports and what sports actually means to society. So that's kind of been the journey outside the field.
Yeah, Vanessa, you're giving here a lesson for the ones who are listening. And interesting that in the beginning you said that, yeah, for you, football, you like football. It's not like others say it's a passion, you cannot live without. You have other things that you are passionate about it. And you now, yourself, and also the rest of the women of the movement, you use the football as a platform to strive for a better society. And in Colombia, I would say that you need more than other countries. You need that someone raise the voice, someone have the courage to do something. And fortunately, you did it. And I already shared this with Maria. I think that this cause should be overseas. I'm Portuguese, living in Switzerland, and I did not have the true importance, or I did not see the true importance of this. I knew because I saw a post on Instagram, but nothing more than that. And we need to share this and spread your voice, because we need to see that there's more women that they want to do something. You are powerful women. You are fighting in the country against everything, let's say that, against everything, and fighting for your own rights. And because of powerful women like you in this podcast, we strongly believe in the necessity of interest and investment from the private sector to develop the women's game, because it's really important. And fortunately, we've seen investment at this level in recent times. In your particular case, you have worked in marketing campaigns with brands like Huawei and Nike, and now you're representing a cause for women's football in the recently created coffee brand Café Atleta, alongside with Manuela Costa, who was one of our guests. So how important do you think it is for female players to work with these brands? Do you think the involvement of female players in these campaigns is one of the best assets to grow the game?
Absolutely. And I think I'm going to steal one of Abby Wambach's quotes, and that she says, investing in women's soccer is not the best thing to do, or don't do it because it's the right thing to do. It's because it's the smartest thing to do. And I think you have to be very open-minded to see it, and that's why maybe we've struggled a little bit sharing this view. But I do think it's a huge opportunity for us as athletes, but also for our country, for our society, especially nowadays where technology can make things closer, that what they might actually be physically. And by this, I mean, we have, as you said, the platform to show a different side of women. We have the platform to show people that football is not just kicking a ball. We have the opportunity to show brands that we as women athletes are worth it. Not just because we might be great at our sport, but because of what we represent to women worldwide. And not only football players, I'm talking about all women athletes. And I think this has to go, or this responsibility lies from both sides, you know, also like obviously from the brand's sides to their and to plan things with us and to create new things with us and to, you know, to also help change society. I think advertising has a huge impact on the way we develop, but also us as female athletes, we have this huge responsibility, not just because of being athletes, but because of, well, again, what we mean to society. So we have to be very honest with ourselves. You know, we have beautiful models or diverse models that we can see in the newspaper, in on interest, in on Instagram, on Twitter, on everywhere. You know, that's we know that, but we have the opportunity to be there as well. So we might as well just be honest and show that, yes, you know, we feel scared. Yes, we make mistakes. Yes, we have cellulite. Yes, we are sometimes, you know, uncomfortable with some parts of our bodies. You know, we have the opportunity to raise our voice differently. Unfortunately, just because we're women, think people look at us differently. But you know what? It's something we have. I'm going to take advantage of it. And that's kind of the way I've assumed my surname. A lot of people just listen to me. Oh, no, because she's his daughter. Oh, great. You're going to listen to me? Okay, now you're going to have to listen to my entire point of view of something, you know? And if you want to give credit to my dad, go ahead. I just need you to listen to me. I truly understood that people, when you go to an, or you walk into a room and they give you a microphone, people, yeah, can pay attention to you. But when you go in holding a football on your hand, people really listen. And that's I think that's huge. And it happens with a football, with a basketball, with a horse, or call it whatever. But we have this special thing about us that we can have, or we must, you know. I think it's a huge responsibility we have to really commit on fulfilling and being able to change our society as female athletes.
Yeah, it's not like sports needs to become something serious, but you mentioned something really relevant, which is when you see someone playing, attending the Olympics, winning a World Cup, they get so much possibilities to reach people, to reach leaders, to try and give opinions about something relevant to many audiences in the world. So why not taking advantage of that? That's really important. And at the end of the day, you mentioned something about privilege, and it is good to be aware about the privilege that you have, but at the same time, men have taken advantage of it all, I mean, like for years and years now to make their points. So why can we do the same, you know? It's just like that.
Yes, and I think, again, I think big part of it is because we are a cause ourselves, you know. And when you're the cause, or when a group of people are the cause, it might change the way you see the world. And I blame them. I'm very harsh on our male colleagues, but I think it's a bunch of things that make us realize our privilege, you know. And I think it's not, the issue is not having privilege. A lot of them you earned them, and that's fine. Others you're born with them, and that's fine. I think the big thing is what you do with them. You know, there was a huge movement here in Colombia last year, that one of the big phrases was, I mean, Maria Laura probably knows it, but que los privilegios no nulen tu empatía, which means don't let those privileges stop your empathy. And I think that's the key. The issue is not the privilege, is what you do with it. So if men have had it for a while and they haven't used it properly, well, that's too bad for them. You know, we get the chance to do it differently.
Vanessa, I mean, speaking with you is just, we are definitely 100% sure that you are a lot more than just the Vanessa, the footballer. You're definitely a leader, and you were actually awarded like that here in Colombia with the Best Leaders Award 2019, a ranking created by Semana Magazine, which is like a really renowned media locally. And I just want you to explain in your own words, what do you think a leader is? I mean, what does it mean to you? And maybe do you have any reference that have influenced your way into leading women's football?
You know, I think I've had a big issue with the word leading, especially because I used to relate it with having the permission to, you know, to having followers, to having people around you. And when I was reading Abby Wambach's book, um, one of the phrases that most stuck with me was, you don't need permission to do it. You don't need permission to raise your voice. You know, just be true to yourself. And if you don't think things are right, say it and do something about it. And I really felt it because I think if you look like soccer wise, I might not have enough credits to be a leader. You know, you expect people who have won the World Cup or who have had, I don't know, X amount of minutes with the national team, or who has been champion of the local tournament. I don't know, but you know, you never feel enough to lead. And I think when I started this, I didn't started thinking I was a leader. I just said, okay, listen, I'm a professional football player. These things are not right. We need to change things. You know, do you also feel and think this way? Great, let's work together and let's make this work. And I think that's why I think things have been great with Manuela Costa, which you've had her here, is because we both understood what we were feeling, and we both agreed on that we were going to do something about it. And we all have different ways to approach and different ways to collaborate, but at the end is, okay, let's do this together, you know. And it's very nice when they see you, or when people say you're a leader, and when you see it that way, it brings huge responsibility with it, which I have to be honest, I like, obviously, as a goalkeeper. But I think at the end of the day, it was just, you know, forget other people. Do it for what you think it's right, and for what you would like to live someday, or for what you would like people to remember you as. And hopefully, honestly, I really hope people don't have to remember me, because things have changed enough. So I think the process of being a leader is not something you wake up one day and say, okay, I'm going to be a leader today. No, it takes a lot of times of speaking up, and it takes also a lot of times of just listening, and a lot of times of not knowing what you're going to do next. And it's okay, you know, it's truly embracing the humanity within you.
Yeah, and now it was funny that you mentioned Manuela, because you kind of had not same but similar answers, because you said you don't feel like a leader. Although if we look from the outside, we think that you are a leader. Probably, as you explained very well, that you're doing something that you think it's necessary for you and for the others. You're using again the football as a platform for a better society, and you saw that this is an opportunity. But of course, when you're looking from the inside, maybe you don't see like that, and brings you responsibility, which sometimes is bad. Others
Yeah,
know,
sometimes.
but yeah, it's curious to see that. I don't know, I'm speaking from the outside, maybe Maria knows better, but from one person that is not South American, for me, what you're doing, you and Manuela and the others, is being a leader, and it's a leadership movement for sure. But now let's go to your work, because you're currently working as a panelist in the multi-platform sports program La Titular. Can you tell us, what does journalism mean to you, and do you see a future fully dedicated to it?
Well, journalism has been a very interesting path as well. especially the sports one. I think you guys know how or the struggle women face when talking about football. So I've really enjoyed being in La Titular. It's a project that grew with one of the biggest, a couple of the biggest sports journalists here in Colombia. So it's a huge honor being able to work with them and to learn from them. I see it just as a couple of friends who get together to talk about football and different sports. I'm based on I base my arguments on football because it's kind of the sports I know the most. Now with the Tour de Francia, I have no idea what I'm gonna say about this. I'm gonna have to start studying. But I think it's still a great opportunity to be able to raise my voice a bit more freely. But it's also been, it's not just opening the mic and just talking. You have to be very conscious about what you're going to say and the way you're going to say it, because people at the end understand the things you say the way they want to understand it, not necessarily the way you want, or not necessarily the way you're saying it. So it's been a challenge. I've enjoyed it. The group of journalists that are in there, they're awesome. They've been great with me, and I'm sure they've also learned a lot of things of women in sports and in journalism itself. So I'm really enjoying it. I do see a future in it. I still don't know if it's going to be fully in sports journalism. As I said, I would love to talk about other things besides sports.
Well, I mean, Vanessa, we could keep this discussion going for days. I mean, as you have done, like for the last couple of years, of course. So, we would like to close this episode just by kind of like playing a bit of a game in a way. Let's
Okay. Great.
No, yeah, but no, but actually, it's more like let's play that you are like the queen of the world in a way. But let's talk.
Okay. Queen
Let's
of the
talk.
world.
Let's talk ideally.
Okay.
So you have full resources, complete efforts, like everyone is available to work in the cause of women's football. Where would you focus these efforts, these resources, this human capital to reach the success that you're looking for?
I think, oh my God, that's a terribly hard question.
Maria's fault. Maria's fault.
I'm scary. I don't want to make the call. I think I would focus in Colombia. I mean, there's so many places I would love to be helping with football, but I'm Colombian, and I think if we can fix home, then we can go and fix other places. So I would invest 50%, no, actually 60% on professional soccer, and then 40% on amateur. And I would say from that 40, I would go, oh my God, no. 50-50. And I would invest 30% on, like national leagues, youth leagues. And then the other 20% in very vulnerable places in Colombia, where I know there are a bunch of girls who want to play football, but they just haven't had the chance to. I think that's how I would distribute the economic resources, and no, not even just economics in general. And it would be all linked together. The professional players would have to go to those little leagues and to those places in Colombia where girls haven't had the opportunity to play. Not just because of the idea of taking women's soccer everywhere as possible, but also because of what those type of experiences mean to you as a football player. So I think that would be the kind of the way I would do it. That's kind of my plan in my mind in this situation of being the queen of the world for 2 minutes.
No, I mean, for me as a Colombian, you answer perfectly.
Perfectly.
So I just invented this game. So you got a 10. You won. You won.
Okay,
You
okay.
definitely won. Exactly.
No, but Maria said as a Colombian, but I would say more than that is what you answer is basically what women's football women's football needs the economic investment, of course, and needs the other part, the all efforts together. We need everything together. We need to believe that it's possible both ways. We need people that comes and invest in the game economically, from the bottom to the top. If it is 50-50 or in another way, this is another story. And there's different parts of the world, of course, and they have to invest differently. But also we need a social part, because it's really needed also. And football is a platform to help to raise this kind of difficulties that we have, that we need to put it together and raise the voice as you are doing right now. And we are closing this episode, and we would like to thank you for sharing your experience and your pathway with us, Vanessa, and also for being an active voice, especially inside Colombia. And to all our listeners, thank you for listening to one more episode. And you already know, follow us on Twitter and Instagram with the name 2 Goals Podcast. Thank you and take care.